So have you guys noticed that, like, with, say, a show like Game of Thrones, which is an awesome show, and it's sort of, the acting's incredible and all that sort of stuff, that the actors go on to do some fucking awful films. Like this year, we've had Peter Dinklage in The Boss. We've had Nikolai Coster-Waldau in Black Gods of Egypt, which was terrible. We've had Emilia Clarke in Me Before You, which was just mediocre at best. I haven't seen the cast of Game of Thrones do an amazing movie, but Bryan Cranston, star of another one of the greatest shows ever, Breaking Bad, has done some very good films and he's done some very good roles. He's been nominated for an Oscar. He's doing so well for himself. And he continues that trend with The Infiltrator, where he plays a guy who's going undercover as Bob Musella and wants to sort of, what do you call it, infiltrate Pablo Escobar and his drugs ring. And, you know, when I heard about the film and I watched the trailer, I was sort of just thinking, is this Narcos, the movie? But it's actually a lot different from Narcos because whilst Narcos does the Pablo Escobar story better, this one isn't actually a Pablo Escobar story. It's more a story of Pablo Escobar's sort of his crew, I guess. You see Pablo Escobar for a grand total of 5 seconds in this movie, so I can't really say he gave a good performance. But I love Narcos and the performance from Wagner Mora. Is that his name? I can't pronounce it properly. But the performance from him is very, very good. And in this, Bryan Cranston's definitely the standout star. You've also got Diane Kruger, who plays his pretend wife, who... because in the film, obviously, he's infiltrating this drugs ring with Pablo Escobar, and he lets it slip that he has a fiance, so they actually have to create a fiance for him, which was quite interesting. And Diane Kruger gives a very good performance, a very believable performance. Same with John Leguizamo as the partner of Bryan Cranston's character. He was also very good, but I feel like he wasn't in it enough, but it didn't really matter that much because this is the Bryan Cranston show, and you really are sort of... The film's nothing new. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but you really are captivated by the performance Cranston gives, and the story is interesting enough to carry a movie. I do feel like it dragged on a little too long. The movie clocks in at about 2 hours, 10 minutes or something like that. And I feel like things could have been cut out. There's things in the movie that didn't really need to be there. I mean, the whole setup was good, you know. Bryan Cranston going under all these different sort of, I guess you could say, disguises. He's sort of wearing different outfits and going undercover and pretending he's someone he's not. I like seeing that stuff. I like that stuff in a movie. And it was interesting to watch in the first half of this film. Last half... the ending's very good. Like, the last confrontation is awesome, but some of it just really dragged, and I was expecting something different, which the movie isn't bad by any means, but by the trailer, it was sort of like action, and I didn't really necessarily want full-on action every 5 minutes, but by the way they set up the trailer, that's kind of what they were trying to show to us. There is a lot of dialogue-based moments, and I like dialogue, and the dialogue in this film's good enough for you to actually sort of, you know, be engrossed by it. But what I'm saying is different crime films and different films like this, they're not really, you can't really be different with them. A film that I really liked this year was War Dogs, and it was based on a true story, like a crime film, and I feel like that did the true story crime thing a lot better than this one. I enjoyed War Dogs more, but obviously completely different movies in different ways, so I can't compare them too much, but I'm just saying I was kind of expecting more of a War Dogs vibe from this film than I got. But, yeah, I mean, the performances are fine, and the sort of the action moments you get are really good. Like I mentioned, the ending, where there's the final showdown, and you've got, you know, all these different people in this one room, and it's just really cool to watch. And I like the emotion in the film. It does have some good emotional moments. Bryan Cranston sort of makes friends with these people who are, like, obviously criminals, and you sort of start to feel bad for them because you actually get that Bryan Cranston's friends with them, and the friendship between them really does blossom, especially as well with his, like, wife. So I did actually feel the emotion in those moments, and Bryan Cranston, like, portrayed it well to begin with, like, because he was sort of like, do I give them up? Like, I like these people, and you know, that was just interesting to me. I like seeing stuff like that as well. Even a film like The Interview did it, obviously completely differently because it was bloody Kim Jong-un. But a film like that did it, like, good, and I feel like this film did it even better because it's just you want to be thrown in there and you want to actually feel like you're part of these characters' worlds. Like, that's what I like about cinema. And based on a true story, it's like, okay, it's not the best thing you could put on screen that could be true story based, but if it's interesting enough, then it's worth seeing. And this film's definitely worth seeing, but I won't say that it's going to be an instant classic. I mean, I wouldn't say that about War Dogs either, but I'd say like a true story movie such as like, I don't know, let me think, 127 Hours maybe? That's a bloody awesome film and that will be remembered. Or maybe even like American Gangster is a very good example. But this one doesn't really hold a candle, and you can tell the Oscar season is coming because you've got so many big true story movies and so many movies that actually you've got these big actors who are going for the Oscar this year, and you can tell and you can see it in their performances. I don't think this one's going to actually be nominated for anything, and I don't think it necessarily deserves to be nominated for anything because it's not that sort of movie. And that's kind of what I was expecting from it, from seeing the poster and the trailer. They had it set up, they had Oscar buzz all around it. So I don't feel like it's as good enough to be put in that category, if you get what I mean. But the film's fine on its own. It stands on its own 2 feet, like I said with the last film, actually. Bit weird that I said that in both videos. I already just clocked onto that. But it's an enjoyable movie. Watch it just for Bryan Cranston's performance, if anything, because it's definitely worth at least that much. And I'll say The Infiltrator is a good time, and I think people who enjoy Bryan Cranston and people who enjoy crime movies will get some fun out of this. And it's not without its humour either, which I liked. So, not a perfect film by any means, but The Infiltrator is definitely not a bad film either. And I'll say, check it out if you get the chance, and I'll see you guys soon.